Hey everybody, well, it's the end of another year. It's the end of 2016, and you know, while I thought that 2015 was a really good year for gaming, and it was, 2016 was even better. There were a lot more games. I found it impossible to pick a top 10 because there were so many games that I played that I wanted people to know about that I actually did a top 20 this year. You know, I don't get paid for this, okay? There's no conventions that tell me I have to do a top 10, okay? So I'm going to do a top 20. These are going to be 20 games that I feel like you absolutely need to check out. The only unfortunate part is that I'm exhausted because 2016 had so many games that I wasn't even able to get to all of them. I've been trying to cherry pick and play through the ones to get them ready to get a good solid opinion on the ones that I did pick, that I have a good handful of games right here that I didn't even get a chance to play. So we have Dishonored 2, which I really wanted to check out but didn't get to. We have Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which looked like fun but did not get to. We have Mafia 3. We have Quantum Break. We have Firewatch. We have The Last Guardian. We have Dead Rising 4, Gears of War 4, Watch Dogs 2, Forza Horizon 3, Planet Coaster, Picross 3D Round 2 for the 3DS, and Grow Up. And there's probably some in there that I'm missing too because there were so many releases that I wanted to check out this year. Wow. Yeah, like I said, this has been a great year for games, but I am tired. I'm gonna need a nice casual game to just sit by and just sip on a drink and just play, you know, calmly. But without further ado, let's jump into my top 20 for 2016. I liked Bravely Default a lot more than I thought I would. I had an interesting experience with the game where I thought I was done with it. But then a week later, I found myself wanting to play more of it, and eventually finished it. So it was only natural that I pick up the sequel this year. While I am enjoying it, it hasn't grabbed me as much as the first one did, and other games have easily distracted me from getting back to it. I feel that it's due to the story not being all that interesting, and the new characters not hitting the same sort of stride that the old characters did in the first game. But I do have to admit, JRPGs have always been that way for me. Either I'm in the mood for one, or I'm not. And if I'm not, I won't go back to it until I am in the mood. However, of the 10 hours I put into it, I can tell you that this is a high quality game and I do want to eventually get back to it. Turn-based strategy games have had a bit of a resurgence over the past few years, and one of the series that has made a big comeback is XCOM. With XCOM Enemy Unknown coming out in 2012 and doing pretty well, it was only a matter of time before a sequel came out. However, when Enemy Unknown seemed to make a huge splash when it released, XCOM 2 released this year to very little fanfare. While it has received good reviews from many outlets, the fact that this was a PC-only game may have been an issue for some. This is a real shame because anyone who enjoyed Enemy Unknown is going to like XCOM 2. It's basically the same game with a new story and a few improvements here and there. Then again, that might also be a problem. Not enough new stuff to intrigue the player. The one thing that many complained about with this game is the difficulty spike. While Enemy Unknown was built with console releases in mind and therefore having a more approachable difficulty, XCOM 2 comes off as the more hardcore sequel that PC gamers will adore. For that reason alone, PC gamers should be adopting this game and claiming it for themselves. That is, of course, until the ports come to consoles. Far Cry Primal was a big surprise for me. I enjoyed previous Far Cry games, but this one definitely intrigued me while also putting me off. The game looked very unique, but how stealthy was it actually going to be? I want to have an animal companion to help me destroy other tribes, but does the AI for the companion work well? A lot of these worries were put to rest recently when I finally was able to get my hands on the game. Harvesting goods and building items and weapons from them is useful and easier than expected. Combat is fun and fluid. There are some stealthy parts, but it's not completely unforgiving, and your animal companion does indeed listen to you just fine. I have not entirely finished Far Cry Primal as of yet, but I can't wait to get back to it and preserve my tribe's legacy. I loved Deus Ex Human Revolution. That game caught my attention a little after it was released back in 2011, and really made me think differently about stealth games. I normally hate stealth games because I don't like the tense feeling of getting caught, or that feeling that I'm not playing the game correctly. However, Human Revolution somehow removed that worry and replaced it with a super fun experience. With Mankind Divided being released this year, I was really expecting and hoped for more of the same. While that is mostly true, there is something missing or something different about it that seems to keep it from fully connecting with me. I can't quite put my augmented finger on it, but while I enjoy the sneaking around, the email reading, the side missions, the dialogue options, and so on and so forth, something is keeping me from being fully immersed into it. Regardless, I still want to see this game through to the end to know what happens in the Deus Ex universe. The Witness is a very odd puzzle game. Odd in that the puzzle solving is addicting, yet the puzzles make the environment seem almost completely unnecessary. You could easily take away the environment, take all of the puzzles in this game and put them back to back to back to have the player solve them in order, and it would be almost the same experience. I did say almost. Somehow the game just wouldn't be the same without you walking through this very strange and sterile place, walking up to screens and solving puzzles to open new rooms that contain more screens with more puzzles. Again, it's a very odd game, but it's an odd game that really captured my attention for a time and deserves to be recognized for it. Superhot was not a game that I cared about in the least. To me, it came off as a silly internet thing. The Superhot chant at the end of every level at first rubbed me the wrong way because all I could imagine was people just repeating "super hot" all over message boards and comment sections. Despite all that, I gave the game a shot, and Superhot is awesome, and it deserves all the attention it's getting. As far as I know, no one else has ever taken a first-person shooter and made a puzzle out of the actual combat. Time only moves when you move, so you get to decide when to shoot, how to dodge a shot, when to throw an object or a punch, and just feel completely badass when you watch the replay of your movements at normal speed at the end of every level. Not to mention, the gameplay is wrapped with a great old-school terminal complete with chat rooms, screensavers, and games. All I can say is that this game is super hot. Oh god, I've become what I hate! World of Warcraft Legion brought me back to the game after a long break. I mean, I haven't played this game on a normal basis since maybe 2010 or 2011. It's been a while. So for a new expansion to actually bring me back, that's saying something. Blizzard made a lot of updates to the game that made it feel fresh again. To name a few, they updated the animations of the characters, they created a scaling system so that you can do dungeons together at different player levels so you don't have to worry about being underleveled. They retooled a lot of the combat stuff, and of course they added a whole new continent to explore. While I'd like to give all the credit to the new expansion, I have to give a little bit to my long absence from the game. Distance makes the heart grow fonder, so it was a lot easier to get back into a new expansion after being gone for a while. It's apparent that Blizzard actually went above and beyond this time around to make something special, and it's worth checking out. I've enjoyed the Mario & Luigi RPG series for a while now, and the new Paper Jam did not disappoint. In this one, Mario and Luigi are joined by Paper Mario, who helps you along the way by folding himself into convenient shapes to traverse the world and by creating papercraft characters to defeat tough enemies. While many have complained about the papercraft parts of the game, I couldn't help but enjoy them because they were so different from the rest of the series. Despite the papercraft part of the game, this is an absolutely awesome game that definitely deserves the attention of adventure gamers and Mario fans alike. Abzu is one of those games that you would refer to as an experience. You play as some sort of ethereal scuba diver and just swim through a short but beautiful adventure. You will ride sea animals and tide drifts, discover relics and robots, and all the while trying to figure out this strange story about spirituality and alien life. It's a very interesting, beautiful, and fun experience that I recommend everybody have. I love myself a good racing game. This year we saw the release of a couple good ones, and even if I wasn't able to get to all of them, there was one that I was really into for about a good month after it came out. TrackMania Turbo. This game basically streamlines the whole TrackMania formula and makes it easy for anyone to get into. Well, at least the first few tiers of it anyway. As you get further in, TrackMania's special brand of crazy starts rearing its ugly head and will either delight you or have you wondering, how the hell do I get past this insane part? No matter what happens, you'll be coming back for more. Titanfall 2 was a weird one for me as it didn't immediately click. When it was released, I heard about how great it was and wanted to give it a go. I played through a couple levels in the single player and thought, okay, it's pretty fun. Then I played through a couple multiplayer matches and thought, alright, I suck at this. Then the game sat for a bit. I knew I needed to come back to it to make sure I wasn't crazy or missing something. Then it all finally clicked in. It took me till level 5 in multiplayer to really understand the flow of combat in a match. Once I played through a couple more levels in single player, it just started to make sense. This game has the privilege of being one of the only games this year that made me go, oh, that's how it works. Not that there was anything wrong with the game or the controls or that anything was too complex. Believe me, it sounds silly to say, but it was actually the speed of the game that was throwing me off. Once I realized how to pace myself, it all fell into place. The proper time to wall run, the proper time to duck into a building, and the proper time to call down your Titan. There was always a strategic time to do these things. The one issue I do have with the game, however, is when I was just starting to enjoy myself in the single-player campaign, it ended. It's a very short campaign that probably could have done with a couple more levels. There are also areas of the single-player game that use newly introduced features that are then never used again, which I find very weird. However, the online game is supremely polished, and as long as the PC community sticks around to keep playing online, I will too. Also, BT rocks! It's silly to mention right after talking about a game full of giant robots and lots of killing, but I'm going to admit it right here out of the gate. Unravel made me cry. It's true, a little game about a yarn character made me tear up. But that's the thing, the game isn't just about a yarn character. I played through the game in one sitting, and when I got to the last level of the game, it hit me like a ton of spools. Yarny, our little yarn character, travels through several different environments. These environments are accessed through pictures displayed in an old house. As Yarny explores, he finds pieces of these memories, and they're placed into a photo album in the house. Basically, all of these memories tie into a metaphor about how yarn unravels, and over time we too eventually unravel. I applaud Coldwood Interactive for making a game that is so moving and... oh geez, I'm gonna cry again just thinking about it. Let's go to the next game. Next game! The little pink circle with eyes continues his silent takeover of the 2D platforming genre with Planet Robobot. Planet Robobot is not a particularly long game, but what it lacks in quantity, it makes up for in quality. For the first time ever, Kirby will not only swallow his enemies to get their powers, but he will call upon the power of a mech suit to get through levels and mash enemies. And surprise, surprise, the suit can use different powers as well. I haven't played a strict 2D platformer that actually had me this into the gameplay in a while. Coming back to it every day to progress through this crazy world that Kirby was in was a treat. Kirby has been releasing great 2D platformers for a while now, and I feel like his games are starting to rival that of even 2D Mario games. I can't wait to see what they do next with the pink puff. I have heard next to nothing about Steep since its release earlier this month. I haven't seen many game sites talk about it, and I haven't seen too many people stream it either. After playing it, I have one question. Why? This game is great! I played the beta earlier this month and was blown away by how simple and fun it is. Imagine you're on a mountain, surrounded by several other mountains. Mountains as far as the eye can see. These mountains are your playground as you snowboard, ski, paraglide, and use your wingsuit to traverse them. You'll spend your time finishing challenges and discovering new ones. Of course, you can also record yourself doing crazy stunts and getting into terrible crashes, but the core of the game is exploration and riding down slopes, and it's a ton of fun. It's unfortunate, but I think Steep is going to be a huge sleeper that many people will miss out on. Don't let that happen. Rise of the Tomb Raider technically came out in 2015. However, I did play it on PC, which was released in 2016. However you want to slice this release date fiasco, once I started Rise of the Tomb Raider, I could not tear myself away from it. Lara Croft already had a great comeback a couple of years ago with the Tomb Raider remake, but I feel that Rise improves upon the remake in many ways. For one, they added in fully realized tombs to explore. Finding these tombs in the first place makes you get out there and explore, which is a good primer for what's to come in the tombs. The environmental puzzles are a lot of fun to figure out, and this game just feels way bigger than the first. With all the positives that there are in this game, there are a couple of gripes too. There are a few frustrating parts with the control, where sometimes Laura doesn't jump where you need her to, or sometimes she won't grab a ledge correctly. But I would say 95% of the time it works perfect. It's that 5% of the time that makes it all the more annoying when you don't see it coming and you're trying to make an important jump. Luckily the game is alright with checkpointing, so you won't be repeating yourself too much. I also think the combat is well done, but there's a little too much of it for my taste as well. When I was really geeked to see where the story was going next, I'd be instead treated to a fight. When you break it down though, these are very minor annoyances, and they are mostly annoying because I wanted to progress in the game that I was really enjoying. If the next game can be mostly tomb raiding and minus a bit of the combat, it'll easily be my favorite in the series. The team behind Limbo has finally released their long-awaited successor, Inside. This game has a lot to live up to with how fun and different Limbo was, and it does not disappoint. Inside tells the mysterious story of a boy trying to run away from something only to infiltrate the inside of some weird experiment. It's hard to describe this game without spoiling it, but as a quick 3-hour game, it's definitely in your best interest to experience this weird platformer. From swimming nightmares to mind-controlling clones to pulling something out of a pig's butt, Inside has got you covered for weirdness on a lot of different fronts, and it's well worth your time. Very close to the release of the new Doom, I had next to no interest in the game. I played a little bit of the Doom multiplayer beta, and it was okay, but it didn't entirely grab me. For some reason, id Software felt the need to not share any single-player content from Doom up to that point. Yes, I know, they showed off a demo at E3 2015, but this wasn't the authentic single-player experience. Around 2 weeks away from release, id finally had a showing of the single-player campaign, and this instantly changed my opinion. They showed fun combat, double jumping, environment puzzles with hidden secrets. To put it bluntly, this looked amazing. Why on Earth, or Mars I guess, why on Mars would they wait this long to show that off? Once I finally got my hands on the game, it's hard to believe, but it was even better than I thought it would be. It is easily the best part of the game despite it having multiplayer and a snap map mode where you can make your own maps. A Doom that has been rebooted a couple times has no right being this good, but it is, and I'm glad because id did the Doom series a huge service with this release. Last year, Box Boy was number 3 on my Game of the Year list for 2015. This year, its sequel is also number 3, and I feel that both games fully deserve their spots on the lists. While my experience with Box Boy was a little different from last year's game, I still enjoyed it just as much. Where the first game surprised me with how clever and fun it was, the sequel expanded on everything the original did with new puzzles, new ways to solve them, and a second set of boxes at your disposal. It goes without saying, I can't wait for Box Boy. Steamworld Heist was technically released in December of 2015, but I don't care. You only have so many games you can squeeze into play in December before you choose your favorite games for the year, and I hadn't played this one yet. However, this year I played Steamworld Heist, and it became the game I came back to almost once a day to play through a level and chip away at it. Addicting gameplay, which included ricocheting shots, adjusting power-ups, and of course, wearing hats, made this game one of the top for me. I really took my time with it because part of me didn't want it to end. Once the game did end, I was welcomed by the PC and Wii U releases that came out in 2016, which I now own and will also make my way through and enjoy. Steamworld Heist is not only my favorite turn-based strategy game for this year, but it's now my favorite of all time. Overwatch sucker punched me this year, in a good way. I had virtually no knowledge of the game before its release except for a trailer I might have seen here or there. I had no interest in it or concept of what it was whatsoever. Then it came up that Blizzard was letting people play an Overwatch beta release. I installed it, started playing, and quite simply, I was captivated. I had to uninstall it because my progress in the beta would not carry over into the final game, and I knew I wanted to keep playing. I feel really dumb for not paying more attention to Overwatch at pre-release, this is a new Blizzard game after all. I have to ask myself this now. When have they ever released a game that I didn't want to play? It's a question I have a hard time answering. Overwatch is an amazing evolution of the online shooter. As far as gameplay is concerned, it doesn't really do anything entirely new. The game pits you on a team to either push a payload or cart to the end of the map, or to capture nodes of the other team's base. Sounds simple, right? Well, what makes this game amazing is actually the attention to detail, the art style, the level design, and how well balanced all the heroes are. Overwatch started out with 21 selectable heroes, but actually it's now up to 23, with more to come. Among all of these heroes, which consist of hybrids of the basic DPS, tank, and healer concepts, are people and machines who all come from very different walks of life. Their personalities stand out and are so fleshed out that there isn't a single one I dislike. Blizzard is even releasing short movies for characters so you can get to know them a bit better. The movie for Winston is my personal favorite, though Bastion is a close second. Because of all the personality and character, Overwatch makes it feel like I'm playing within a comic book world that I want to be a part of. With all of the positives I've already mentioned about Overwatch, I also wanted to commend Blizzard for making it so that the game promotes teamwork and different ways of playing. You can have fun being a tank or a healer and even get accolades at the end of a match for doing well as one. If you don't like a particular class, you can learn another that better fits your playstyle. As you play more, you learn what classes work best in certain situations, definitely helping to add a lot of strategy to an already strategic game. Overwatch is easily my #1 game of the year for 2016. Well, there you go, everybody. That was my top 20 for 2016. I know, it's exhausting. There's a ton of games. Games should not be exhausting, but there are too many to play this year. Too many. I feel like next year I'm going to include even more 2016 games on my 2017 list. So, well, thanks everybody for watching me throughout this year, and thank you for watching this video. I hope you'll stick around and keep watching because there's going to be plenty more GGRC in 2017. And I look forward to chatting with all of you in the comments. So, hey, until next year, I hope you all have a happy new year and stay safe. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to check out some of the other GGRC episodes. And if you're feeling a little retro, why not jump into the Quake Grave, where you can watch me play through a lot of different custom maps in Quake. Enjoy!